90% of students who are told they are talented actually perform worse over time than students who are told they worked hard. 90%. That single finding, discovered by psychologist Carol Dweck at Stanford University, turned everything we thought we knew about intelligence, potential, and human achievement completely upside down. And the implications go far beyond the classroom. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly what a growth mindset is, why most people accidentally train themselves to think in ways that limit their entire lives, and the specific daily habits that rewire your brain for success. We will also get into the one insight that almost nobody talks about, something that even people who think they have a growth mindset are almost certainly getting wrong. Stay with us, because this one is going to change how you see yourself. To understand why any of this matters, you need to go back to the 1980s. Carol Dweck was a young researcher fascinated by a simple question: why do some children give up when they encounter difficulty, while others seem to thrive on challenge? She began running experiments with school children, watching how they responded to failure. What she found was not what anyone expected. It was not intelligence that predicted success. It was not background, resources, or even natural talent. It was the story each child told themselves about what failure meant. Some children believed that their abilities were fixed. You were either smart or you were not. Either talented or average. This belief, which Dweck eventually called the fixed mindset, caused children to avoid challenges, give up quickly, and feel threatened by the success of others. The reasoning was simple and devastating: if failure means you are not smart, then the safest strategy is to never risk failure. Never try anything too hard. Stay in the safe zone where you already know you can succeed. But other children had a completely different relationship with difficulty. They believed that abilities could be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. For these children, a hard problem was not a threat. It was an invitation. Dweck called this the growth mindset. And she spent the next 4 decades proving just how much it matters. Here is something most people get wrong immediately. A growth mindset is not simply about being positive. It is not about telling yourself "I can do anything" or repeating affirmations in the mirror every morning. It is a specific belief about the nature of intelligence and ability, that they are not fixed at birth, but are shaped and expanded through sustained effort and deliberate learning. That is a crucial distinction. Positivity without that core belief does not produce growth mindset outcomes. It just produces optimism that collapses at the first sign of real difficulty. Research from the University of Chicago found that students explicitly taught the neuroscience of brain plasticity, the fact that the brain physically changes and grows stronger when you learn, showed dramatically better academic results than control groups. Why? Because when you understand that effort literally builds your brain, struggling with a hard problem stops feeling like evidence of failure. It starts feeling like exercise. You are building something. But here's what nobody talks about. Most people who believe they have a growth mindset actually have what Dweck herself calls a false growth mindset. They apply growth mindset thinking selectively to areas where they are already comfortable, and slip straight back into fixed mindset thinking the moment they face genuine vulnerability. The business leader who talks about learning from failure but secretly fires employees who make mistakes. The parent who tells their child effort is everything but then feels devastated when that child gets a B instead of an A. The person who says they are always learning but refuses to take on any project where they might look incompetent. Sound familiar? The fixed mindset does not announce itself. It disguises itself as realism, as self-awareness, as just knowing your limits. That voice that says, "This is not really for me," or "I am just not a math person," or "Creative people are born that way, and I was not born that way," that is not wisdom. That is a fixed mindset wearing a very convincing costume. So how do you actually develop a genuine growth mindset? Not a performed one. Not a Sunday morning affirmation one. A real, durable, functional growth mindset that changes how you behave when things get hard. There are 4 evidence-based strategies that researchers have consistently identified, and each one is more specific than most people realize. The first is reframing the meaning of effort. Dweck's research showed that praising effort rather than outcomes produces measurably different behavior in children and adults alike. But this goes deeper than just saying good effort. You need to genuinely restructure your belief about what effort signals. In a fixed mindset, needing to try hard means you are not talented. In a growth mindset, trying hard is simply the mechanism through which ability is built. When you struggle, the internal narrative shifts from "I cannot do this" to "I cannot do this yet." That single word, "yet," has been shown in multiple studies to improve persistence and performance in measurable ways. The second strategy is deliberate exposure to difficulty. A growth mindset does not develop in comfortable situations. It develops exactly where you feel out of your depth. Researchers at Michigan State University studying brain activity found that individuals with a growth mindset showed greater neural activity when they made errors, indicating their brains were actively working to analyze and correct mistakes. Their brains were literally more engaged by failure than by success. That neural engagement only comes when you regularly put yourself in situations where failure is genuinely possible. The third strategy involves changing how you respond to criticism. Fixed mindset individuals experience feedback as a judgment of their worth. Growth mindset individuals experience feedback as information about their current performance. That is not just a semantic difference, it produces completely different behavioral outcomes. When feedback is data, you seek more of it. You ask questions. You apply it. When feedback is judgment, you defend against it. You rationalize. You avoid the person who gave it to you. One leads to rapid improvement. The other leads to stagnation dressed up as confidence. The fourth strategy is learning to find inspiration in the success of others rather than threat. In a fixed mindset, someone else's achievement is a problem for you. It raises the bar. It makes you look comparatively weaker. In a growth mindset, someone else's achievement is proof of what is possible. It is a map. It is motivation. Research on professional athletes found that those with growth mindset characteristics were significantly more likely to deliberately study the techniques of competitors who outperformed them, while fixed mindset athletes tended to avoid watching footage of superior competitors because it felt threatening. Now here is where this gets even more interesting. Neuroscience has completely validated everything Dweck discovered through behavioral research. Brain imaging studies have shown that the brain remains far more plastic into adulthood than scientists believed just 2 decades ago. The concept of neuroplasticity tells us that every time you learn something new, practice a skill, or work through a difficult problem, your neurons form new connections. The myelin sheath around frequently used neural pathways grows thicker, making those pathways faster and more efficient. In plain language, your brain physically gets better at things you practice. Intelligence is not a fixed quantity you are given at birth. It is something your brain builds across your entire lifetime. A 2019 study published in Nature Human Behavior found that students who received a single session explaining neuroplasticity showed sustained improvement in academic motivation and grades across a full academic year. One session. The idea that learning changes your brain physically is that powerful when people actually internalize it. The real-world implications of all this are enormous. Organizations with leaders who model growth mindset behaviors show higher employee engagement, greater innovation rates, and stronger performance in the face of market disruption. Relationships where both individuals approach conflict with a growth mindset, believing communication skills and emotional intelligence can be learned, show significantly higher rates of resolution and long-term satisfaction.